There's nothing there, man.
They're communicating. They're thinking.
Zombies, man. Creepy.
When Land of the Dead hit theaters in 2005, it arrived as both a continuation and an evolution of George A. Romero's legendary zombie saga. It was more than just another horror sequel. It was a statement from the master of the genre himself, returning to the world he created decades earlier with Night of the Living Dead. This time, Romero brought the undead into the modern age, reflecting on a world that had grown more divided, more consumer-driven, and more detached from its own humanity. The movie carried not only the spirit of classic zombie horror, but also sharp political and social undertones that elevated it far beyond simple scares. Set years after society's collapse, Land of the Dead imagines a world where humanity has learned to survive among the undead. The living have built fortified cities surrounded by rivers and walls, keeping the zombies out and maintaining a fragile sense of order inside. But this new civilization is built on inequality while the rich live in luxury, inside a towering skyscraper called Fiddler's Green. The poor struggle to survive in the slums below. Romero uses this divide to mirror real-world issues of class and privilege, making his horror not just about survival, but about the moral decay of those who control society. It's a world where people are alive, but humanity is dying. At the center of the story is Riley Denbo, played by Simon Baker, a man who leads a small team of survivors that venture out into the zombie-infested wastelands to scavenge supplies for the wealthy. He's calm, capable, and weary of the world he lives in, a man who dreams of escaping to a place untouched by corruption or the undead. Alongside him is Cholo, played by Leguizamo, his hot-headed partner whose ambitions drive much of the film's conflict. Cholo believes he deserves a place in Fiddler's Green, but when he's denied entry by the city's ruthless leader Kaufman, portrayed by Dennis Hopper, he decides to take matters into his own hands. Kaufman represents everything Romero wanted to criticize about power and greed. He's a man who believes in hierarchy, control, and the illusion of safety, maintaining order through fear and manipulation. His character is not far removed from real-world figures who profit off crisis and division, making him one of the most grounded villains in the series. Through him, the film questions what kind of society humanity would rebuild after the apocalypse, one that learns from the past, or one that repeats the same mistakes with higher walls and bigger guns. But while humans continue their own battles, the zombies in Land of the Dead begin to change. Romero introduces a fascinating twist to his undead mythos. These creatures are no longer mindless. They're evolving, learning, and beginning to communicate. The most striking of them is Big Daddy, a former gas station attendant who becomes the leader of the undead horde. His ability to think, organize, and show emotion marks a turning point in the genre itself. For the first time, the zombies are not just monsters, they're characters with a kind of tragic intelligence. This idea challenged audiences, making them question who the real villains were, the living or the dead. Visually, the film presents a dark, gritty, and decayed world filled with eerie beauty. Romero's use of practical effects and makeup, combined with updated CGI, creates a balance between old-school horror and modern filmmaking. The zombies are detailed, grotesque, and yet strangely sympathetic. Each frame feels soaked in atmosphere, rain-slick streets, burning buildings, neon signs flickering in a city that feels alive yet dying at the same time. The production design reinforces the idea that this is humanity's last stand, clinging to material wealth and comfort while everything around them rots away. The film's action sequences stand out as some of Romero's most ambitious. From the chaotic raids on zombie territory to the full-scale invasion of the city, Land of the Dead delivers a sense of scale rarely seen in earlier installments. The massive armored vehicle known as Dead Reckoning serves as both a symbol of human ingenuity and a weapon of oppression. Its design, heavily fortified and loaded with firepower, embodies how far humanity has gone to protect itself while still ignoring the moral cost. When Cholo hijacks Dead Reckoning and threatens to destroy Fiddler's Green, it becomes not just a battle between men, but a fight for the soul of what's left of civilization. Romero's direction remains sharp and deeply personal. He doesn't just show chaos, he builds tension through human emotion and moral choice. The pacing of the film allows audiences to feel the weight of every decision, from Riley's quiet moments of reflection to Kaufman's ruthless self-preservation. And beneath the explosions and gore, there's always a layer of meaning. Every zombie attack, every human betrayal, serves as commentary on greed, fear, and the illusion of control. Romero never lost his touch for making horror reflect real life, and in Land of the Dead, that reflection feels painfully close. The performances bring depth and energy to the story. Simon Baker plays Riley as a reluctant hero, someone who doesn't fight for power but for peace. John Leguizamo gives Cholo a fiery determination and tragic edge, making him one of the most complex figures in the film. Asia Argento, as Slack, adds resilience and humanity to the mix, portraying a woman who's seen the worst of both humans and zombies, yet still chooses to fight for survival. Dennis Hopper delivers his trademark charisma and menace, portraying Kaufman as a man who would rather burn the world than lose control of it. Together, the cast creates a dynamic tension that drives the film beyond its horror roots. Beyond the blood and screams, Land of the Dead carries a message that feels even more relevant today. It's about walls, physical and social ones, that divide people in times of fear. It's about those who hoard comfort while others struggle just to live another day. And it's about what happens when the oppressed, even the undead, finally rise up against their masters. The film's climax, when the zombies storm Fiddler's Green, plays like a dark mirror of revolution. The oppressed take back what was stolen, not out of vengeance, but out of instinct, a natural correction to an unnatural world. What makes the movie so powerful is how it doesn't end with total destruction, but with a strange sense of understanding. When Riley and his team escape and Big Daddy leads his undead away, there's a moment of quiet acknowledgement between them, as if both sides realize they're just trying to find a place to exist. It's haunting, poetic, and deeply human. Romero suggests that maybe the zombies are not humanity's punishment, but its reflection, showing us the cost of selfishness and separation. The tone of Land of the Dead is heavier and more somber than its predecessors, but also more cinematic. It blends horror with drama, action with philosophy. Romero's signature dark humor still surfaces in moments of irony, like when Kaufman meets his fate, surrounded by the very wealth he tried to protect. But the overall feeling is one of inevitability, that no matter how much we build or how high we climb, decay always finds a way. Romero's return to the director's chair after years away from the zombie genre felt like a victory for both fans and filmmakers. Land of the Dead reminded the world why he was the undisputed master of the undead. His vision was never about jump scares or cheap thrills. It was about society, about human behavior under pressure, about what happens when the systems we trust collapse. Through his films, the zombies became symbols for everything we fear losing: identity, morality, and connection. Even after its release, Land of the Dead continues to inspire debate and reflection. Some see it as a pure action horror film. Others view it as a political allegory wrapped in blood and smoke. But no matter how you interpret it, its impact is undeniable. It paved the way for a new generation of zombie films and shows that expanded on Romero's ideas, works that explored the human side of the apocalypse, the blurred lines between survival and savagery. Every scene feels intentional, every image layered with meaning. The contrast between the glittering towers of the elite and the grim streets below speaks volumes about inequality. The sight of zombies learning, adapting, and even showing emotion raises uncomfortable questions about consciousness and cruelty. And the human characters, caught between guilt and greed, remind us that sometimes the real monsters are the ones still breathing. By the time the credits roll, Land of the Dead leaves you with more than fear, it leaves you with thought. It asks what kind of world we would rebuild if given the chance. Would we create something better or repeat the same mistakes behind higher walls? Romero's answer is both chilling and hopeful. The world of the dead, for all its horror, is also a world stripped of pretense. In death, there's no status, no greed, only existence. In the end, Land of the Dead stands as one of George A. Romero's most ambitious and mature works, a film that blends spectacle with substance. It's a brutal, intelligent, and emotional journey through a world where the living and the dead are mirrors of each other. Its message echoes long after the final scene. Survival means nothing if humanity is lost along the way. And in a world that keeps repeating its cycles of division and fear, Romero's vision feels more prophetic than ever.